સંધાન और गुजरात इंटीग्रेटेड क्लासरूम
સેટેલાઇટના માધ્યમથી જોડતી કડી એટલે સંધાન.
Good morning and welcome back to the second part of Professions for Women. Today we have started the lesson prescribed for semester 4 general English students, and in the earlier part 1 we have discussed the author Virginia Woolf at length and her views on the topic Professions for Women. Just to bring you back to what we were discussing, I'll just quickly talk about few important things we discussed in part 1 as a means of connection to continue with part 2. As I said very clearly at the outset, that this was not a written essay, rather a talk between women in a group and Virginia Woolf. And that is the reason we find lot many things, as I said, that it is written in points. If you look into the books, you will realize that this is not in a conventional pattern where you go on with a story. Rather, you have the whole lesson divided into 7 points. And up till now, we have crossed at least 5 of them, discussing each and every important point dealt in each of these points. And now, let me continue with what we left at a stage when we ended up with part 1, and that was why a deliberate attempt is made on the part of a woman writer when it comes to killing an angel. And that is what we left at the end of part 1. I'll continue with that. You can see on your screens that why take such an effort. Now here I just want to make one point very clear, that killing the angel in the house is not something specific with Virginia Woolf we are talking. We are talking in terms of the general sense that whenever a woman steps out of the house, she has to deliberately, or rather she has to add an extra effort to side it, to keep it on the side and enter into a new world, and that is called the professional world. Now here we are going to we are discussing only the profession of a writer, that is more or less Virginia Woolf being a literary writer. Our focus is on her being a part of English literature, and how as a writer she found herself growing day by day. And that is what she herself says. I quote from the text, "I do not believe that anybody can know until she has expressed herself in all the arts and professions open to human skill." So this is a rather an extended point where she is putting it across that every woman in every profession has to make an effort of this kind if she wants to go further. And that is how we ended our part 1, and I'm taking you further to the next 2 important metaphors she's going to talk about. And the second one, I'll just take you back. As I said, she's using very figurative language. Rather, we can say her diction is very selected, as she wants to put certain things very clear. And the first metaphor she used was angel in the house, and the second one she's using is of a fisherman. Here exactly a fisherman is a girl. I haven't kept that on the screen, but I would like to read it from the main text, so you can look into the textbooks where I'm reading. I quote from the text where she talks about the fisherman. "The image that comes to my mind when I think of this girl is the image of a fisherman, lying sunk in dreams on the verge of a deep lake, with a rod held out over the water. She was letting her imagination sweep unchecked round every rock and cranny of the world that lies submerged in the depths of our unconscious being. Now came the experience that I believe to be far commoner with women writers than with men. I just want to make a point here that up till now we were talking about angel of the house, which is meant for each and every woman whoever goes out of the house. But here she is coming to be more, she's talking about more specific, and that is about the writer, the creative process, being a woman writer, how a writer feels, and that is explained through this example, that is through this metaphor of a fisherman and a girl, that how the girl tries to in a way overcome all the hindrances, obstacles, and just she's very near to what she is trying to attain. I quote again from the text: the line raced through the girl's fingers. Her imagination had rushed away. It had sought the pools, the depths, the dark places where the largest fish slumber. And then there was a smash. There was an explosion. There was foam and confusion. The imagination had dashed itself against something hard. Now the point to be understood here is, what was that hard thing? Why a process which was at the very near to its attainment suddenly turned into an explosion, and how things got dashed. Now here this is one of the obstacles that Virginia Woolf talks about when it comes to women writers, especially when they are trying to make a space in man's world. And this is the smashing, which signifies that how hard she has to struggle to make her own position. Still, I continue further. The girl was roused from her dream. And this is because of the smash and the explosion, that the girl, she came out of that dream. She was indeed in a state of the most acute and difficult stress. To speak without figure, she had thought of something about the body, about the passions, which it was unfitting for her as a woman to say. Men, her reason told her, would be shocked. The consciousness of what men will say of a woman who speaks the truth about her passions had roused her from her artist state of unconsciousness. And this is the fear, or rather this is the obstacle which every women writer has to fight if she has to come out as a true or a whole creative writer. You can just look on your slides again, and this is what we talk about, the next obstacle which I just read out from the main text, and this is fight against the consciousness of what men will say of a woman who speaks the truth about her passions, had roused her from her artist state of unconsciousness. So now this fear, this sort of a conscience which haunts a woman, has to be overcome if she has to flourish as a creative writer. I'll just take a minute here to tell you that during the Victorian age, or even before that, many women writers wrote under pseudonyms. They took the names of male people and published their works under their name. It was not disclosed that these things are written by a woman. So that was the era which we are talking about, where a woman is very conscious when she is writing that she will be judged on the basis of her gender and not on the basis of her being a creative writer. And this is what we are talking about, the theory, when we talk that how a person is different than a creative writer and a man or a woman, how the gender in a way coincides, or to what extent it interferes, or to what extent it leads to a different sort of a realization. And again, I would stress on my point which I laid in my previous part also, that we are not talking about the injustice done to women. We are not talking about feminism in that sense of asking for equality or asking for a specific space for women. We are just in general trying to understand the internal conflicts a woman come across when she has to come into a profession which has already been, in a way, which has been an arena of men, and when she has to make a place there, she has lot many certain internal conflicts which she has to overcome, and this is one of such, where Virginia says that this was a major obstacle when she started to in a way invent her creative process, or rather to bring out the unconscious. And as I said earlier, she has been a very renowned novelist, and this is how we can connect her technique of writing novels, where she has introduced the technique of stream of consciousness, where she is trying to pour out the mental functionings of a character. I'm digressing from what we are doing. Let's continue with what we are supposed to end up with. And this is what I said, that in spite of snailing the phantom, the rock is something which the writer has to first overcome. And here was a extract from the text which I read, which said that the fisherman, that is the girl, she woke up from her dream because she dashed against that rock, and that rock is the obstacle that a woman writer has to, in a way, cross or overcome. Let's move on further. As I said, what all I discussed have these specific words to be put in to make it more precise, that what is writing for women? Why women's writing is different than the other ones, or why they need a different way of presentation, or why they are different. That is, we are talking about the poetics of difference rather, and this is what the answer for such a question could be. I read out, what is writing for women? Writing is a kind of trance during which imagination penetrates the unconscious, where ideas are stored. Writing should be uninterrupted. Now, this is something which was interrupted as the girl dashed with the rock. And so, these are the metaphors that Virginia Woolf is using to make her point very clear. As she said, the metaphor of writer is the fisherman, and the idea, something to express, is the fish, and the imagination is the fishing rod. And what is the attainment? What finally is to be attained is the unconscious being, which has to be went out, which has to be brought out when the writer is writing. But in the case of a woman writer, she is interrupted. The process is not uninterrupted. She is always interrupted, and there are lot many reasons in the case of all writers, whoever are in this profession. Virginia talks about her overcoming of this obstacle, but not to the fullest, as she said in earlier, as I read out, that she has overcome the killing of the angel, but she hasn't overcome her ultimate giving as a woman writer. Let's move on further. Why women are feared? Now, that was what we said, that whenever she has a thought that what men would label this thing as, awareness, what men will say. In theory, women have the right to write, but the practice is different. When they write, it's okay. But when they have to walk on that path, the path is nominally open. It is not open in that manner. They are not welcomed with both the hands open in that physical sense of it. But again, that sort of, open space, that is, the open mindset is required if a woman has to flourish as a writer. Virginia Woolf as an author very strongly through this lecture, through this talk, makes it very clear that my voice is, in a way, she says, voices her disbelief in an universal men view. She is against the thought that the ultimate thing is something written by them and not by women. So her focus is on herself as a writer, and especially as a woman writer, and how she faced the obstacles and how she encountered on her path of writing. Let's move on further to the sixth point of your text, where she is talking about how she replaced herself, how she went on and on in the process of writing. I'll read out, just look into it. Shows a simple process of writing, builds her arguments on certain images, battle with a phantom, replaces phantom with a question, what is herself, what does it mean to be a woman. She's asking questions to her own self and posing questions to other women to ask them their own self, that what do you think about yourself? If you are into a profession where you have to let out yourself, what are you doing? Are you really yourself? That is what is herself. Speaks in a very figurative language, that is using metaphors, citing examples, shows internal perspectives and how writing process becomes complicated. Why things become complicated? Because there has to be a dissection to be done on the part of the writer, because there are unknown fears which, or unknown questions which the women in state has to answer, and the realities are different, inward reality and outward reality. The outward reality may be common in case of men and women writers, but in the inward reality is totally different. Women writers face different consequences when they opt for certain way of presentation. Yeah, that is what that is bringing us to the end of the text which we have taken up today. The title of this slide says that it is the conclusion. I have very aptly kept it as conclusion, because this is not the conclusion, rather this is the starting point where she is trying to tell all the women audiences sitting to listen to her lecture, that when you are in a position where you can sustain, or where you are a professional, there are still two things that every woman has to possess, and that is what is in the last point discussed. I'll read out from the text. I quote, "The whole position as I see it here in this hall, surrounded by women practicing for the first time in history, I know not how many different professions, is one of extraordinary interest and importance. You have won rooms of your own in the house, hitherto exclusively owned by men. You are able, though not without great labor and effort, to pay the rent. You are earning your £500 a year." Now this is, she is placing a woman in a state where she can say that I have my own house, I earn, even I am capable of paying the rent of the house which I own. But again, in what real sense she is talking? Now here I'll just make a point about the book which she wrote next, that was titled as The Room of One's Own. And this is the point that she is making here, that every woman has to have a room of her own, room of one's own, and at the same time economic stability, or rather economic independence. That is what, or plainly you can say money, to support herself. And these are the two important things that she's talking about, and that brings us to the third metaphor that she has used, and that is of the empty rooms. In the last paragraph of the text, I'll read out that she has talked about that you have killed the angel. Then again you have started the creative process, you are in the process, you dream of something, but due to certain fears, due to certain assumptions, due to some sort of lack of realization on your part, you are not able to come out of that fear. That is one thing which is explained to us through the metaphor of the fisherman and the girl. Now here is the third one, where she is advising all women sitting and listening her that everybody has empty rooms. Now empty rooms has two connotations here. Empty rooms physically, that if you have a room and you have no one, you can decorate it, you can live your life lively by decorating it, enjoying your space, and the other is that you have to come to a state where you can support yourself financially. These are the two things that every woman has to attain in her lifetime, and that is what brings us to the last point, which is point number 7 in the lesson. I'll quote from the text. You can just look onto your screens. That is a room of one's own. Excuse me. We can just read it. I quote, "But this freedom is only a beginning. The room is your own, but it is still bare. It has to be furnished. It has to be decorated. It has to be shared. How are you going to furnish it? How are you going to decorate it? With whom are you going to share it? And upon what terms? These, I think, are questions of the utmost importance and interest." Unquote. So this is what she advises rather, or puts forth to all the women sitting opposite to her, that you have a room, you have a space, you have your own independence in terms of working, but still you require lot many things to say your own, and that is a room of one's own, where you have to decorate yourself. Don't keep things empty. Try to fill the void and see what you can enjoy your life by decorating it, by sharing it with whom you want on your own terms. Now these are the important questions she wants women to ponder on, and that is how we come to the last words that she says. I quote from the text, "For the first time in history you are able to ask them. For the first time you are able to decide for yourselves what the answer should be. Willingly would I stay and discuss those questions and answers. But no, not tonight. My time is up and I must cease. Willingly would I stay and discuss those questions and answers, but not tonight. My time is up and I must cease." Now these are the concluding lines of the lesson, which we have discussed, where she says that I have left on all the women listening to her, that is listening to Virginia Woolf, that once you attain a state, to what extent you can in a way improve it or make it better for yourself. That was what she ended up her lecture with, questions, leaving on the women listening to her, that if a creative writer takes birth, then what are the problems she might face and how to overcome them. And again, as I said, that ending note of a room of one's own and economic independence, that was also a very important point she made to the women listening to her. And that is how we come to the end of the session. That is, for example, the lesson which was discussed in part 1 and 2. Now, when we talk about compulsory English, the most important factor, rather the aspect that is to be kept in the mind by the student, is to what extent the student has acquired one sort of competency regarding the vocabulary that is used, that the student has read. And as I said in the very first my 5 minutes lecture, that a student has to read each and every line if they want to understand all the things which are being prescribed for them as a lesson. At the same time, that builds up their competency in English language. Now, I need not say that after I finish this, I have to talk about the exercises at the end of the lessons which are given to you. Let's move on towards that side. Now, this is, you have the books very well with you. Now, this is what is supposed to be worked by you after reading the lesson. My genuine advice is to read the glossary very clearly and very minutely to understand what all I discussed, based on the additional meanings given with certain examples, that why Virginia Woolf has used this precisely with some connection with what she wanted to talk about. The glossary has additional meanings also, with detailings also. So the glossary is to be read very well before you attempt any sort of an exercise. Now your whole exercise is divided into 2-3 things. The first important thing any student would come across is the question answers. You can look up on page number 72, question number 2. That is, answer the following questions in not more than 50 words each. Now you can see that major part of the questions are in the form of inverted statements, where you are asked to explain what do you understand by these lines. Only few of them are very straight, where there is a direct question, who or what or when, or according to Virginia Woolf. There are very few such questions, so I have taken up those questions to enhance a better understanding of what all we discussed in these 1 and 2 parts. The rest of your exercise is divided into meanings, MCQs, that is, choose the correct options, and comprehension style of questions, and even composition in the form of short notes. So I have just few examples to show you how to frame your answers, to what extent you can add, to what extent you can use the understanding which you have gained after listening to this session. You can just look up on your screens. These are the questions, just as models to make you clear about what we have discussed. Why does the author say that in literature there are fewer experiences for women than in any other professions? Now I'm not going to in a way explain the question, rather I'll read out the answer so that you can understand what exactly is meant by this. The answer goes like this: writing is a profession solely done in solitude. As a writer, any woman is free in her own way. It is not a formal kind of employment for which she is answerable to her bosses or governed by a certain code of conduct in an establishment. Thus, women don't have to experience bitter experiences. So the author says that in literature there are fewer experiences for women than in any other profession. Now they might sound very common sort of statements, but here you have to always understand the fact that women writers are less into this profession, and that is the reason that there are fewer experiences to share. Because when we talk about experience, the person has to express what the person experiences. So in women's case, it is very difficult to come out. As I said, that killing of the angel to an extent is possible, but what about the creative consciousness or the creative process that a woman comes across? And that is why there are very fewer experiences. You have to understand the core of the question. You just can't take up bits from here and place them there. There has to be a proper analyzation and presentation at the same time. Let's move on to the second question, a very important one, that how this phrase struck, and who is this angel? Is it a physical character rather? Because at the outset anybody would say, okay, angel is a godly sort of a thing, so that's a very good thing about. But here we are talking in a very different sense. So everything is to be in a way understood minutely, and you can just look on your screens the question, who is the angel in the house? In what way did the angel in the house come between the author and her paper when she was writing reviews? Now this is the personal experience of Virginia Woolf when she started her career as a writer that she came across, and this phrase was taken from a poem which she came across titled as The Angel in the House. I'll read out the answer. The Angel in the House is the title of a poem by Patmore. The angel is the symbol of domestic woman, a symbol of work. This phantom of the angel continues to come before the eyes of the author when she was writing reviews. it has to be destroyed. Now, this is Virginia Woolf's personal experience where this angel was interrupting her process of creation, and that is what I said earlier, that creative writing for women is an uninterrupted process. You can't interrupt, and here was the angel interrupting Virginia Woolf's task of reviewing a book written by a man, and that is how she says that this angel was to be in a way kept aside, and keeping aside meant killing that angel. And one thing has to be again taken very seriously, that killing has nothing physical to do here. As I said earlier, we are talking in terms of suppressing something, or talking in terms of removing it, but from the mental makeup and not in reality in terms of physical action. Okay, let's move on further. We have this next question, that how a woman is different as a writer and as a novelist. When a woman turns into a novelist, what are the problems, or what sort of an image, that is what is required, what are the prerequisites, that is what I am talking about next here. The question is, what is the image that the author gives to explain the state of the novelist? How is this image appropriate? Now, that is again the metaphor we were talking about. The answer goes, to explain the state of the novelist, the author gives the image of the angel in the house. A woman becomes the symbol of slavery and labor. As a novelist, she has to fight many obstacles. This image is significantly proved appropriate by the author, and that is the rebirth rather of a woman as an author, and that is especially as a novelist, and that is she has to work hard for that. Now, again coming to the point which we started with, that here we are talking about the internal conflicts, not in a very simple way the injustices. We are not talking about equality, but we are talking in terms of the equality in the profession that a woman enters, where both men and women, they flourish, and that is what this question talks about. According to the author, is economic independence enough for women? What more do they want? Is just money going to solve, or rather going to liberate women? Is that what we talk when we talk of equality? The answer is, according to the author, economic independence is not enough for women, even though it has given her some space and freedom. Moreover, they want more independence and equal with men. That is equality with men in terms of their being professionals, and that is what is to be taken in the right spirit. If you don't understand the point, what I am trying to suggest, you might just take it as a sort of a fight, or rather a sort of a competition that we are talking, but this is not what that we are talking. In a very simple manner, we are talking about the intricacies, the problems that women writers come across when they are going to come into a world which has already been in majority number ruled by men, and that is what equality here means. Let's go further. As I said, after questions you will have some short note, that is essay type questions, composition questions, and this is what one of the major short note which a student has to keep in mind, and that is the angel in the house. I won't be repeating all the things, but the most important fact that is to be kept in mind is that angel is a symbol of slavery and labor, and that is what Virginia Woolf says is to be in a way overcome. A woman is not free to express or has an identity of her own, and that is she has to work to build up, to focus on her own identity, that is rediscovering or relocating herself. You can read out this short note quickly. The angel in the house is the title of a poem, and it idealizes women in the poem. It sings all praises for a woman, and it gives certain norms and rules and abiding principles that a woman has to stick to if she wants to please somebody. That is the historical perspective again of the Victorian age, that is to be kept always in mind when we read this. But Virginia says a different thing, where she says that a woman has another role too. She has her own identity too. Beyond the family, she has her own self, and that is looking for that self is the required thing for each and every woman, and that is what she concluded her lecture on. What is the role of an angel? According to the poem, I have missed on the lines of the poems. If I had the poem also, we could have read it, but we can just again sum up here that the angel in the form of a phantom continues to come before her eyes when Woolf writes reviews. Now that is a mechanical sort of a puppet which comes in all the time. This has to be destroyed before she continues writing, as the angel in the poem is shown. Just a puppet of good qualities, and the good qualities again, it's not that you keep aside the good qualities and take over bad qualities. We are not again bringing that to that sort of a bottom line. We are talking in terms of how she is in a way controlled. We are talking about the controlling power, not the puppet as a not the puppet as a thing. We are talking about the controlling power, that is how this puppet is controlled by men. And this is what Virginia says, that you have to have the controlling power on your side. You have to decide what you want to do, want to be this side or that side, and that is in that sense I have used the term puppet over here. After understanding the whole functioning of a professional, especially a woman writer, now we will talk about the specificity of being a novelist. How a professional writer, especially a woman writer, especially a novelist, a woman novelist, comes that is faces certain issues or has to go through certain a sort of a process which she is not willingly expecting, or rather she is not into, but she has to cross this if she wants to work as a woman writer. Now this is another short note where you could be asked the obstacles faced by women in the profession of writing, or Virginia Woolf's professional experiences as a novelist. And here enters the second and the third metaphor, that is of a fisherman and a girl. That is, girl is the writer, and the the rock, that is the society in which she exists, and what are the obstacles that she has to face if she has to make a space as a novelist. You can read on your screens. Virginia Woolf shares her thoughts as a novelist in the profession of writing. As a woman writer, she has to gain freedom of expression. Now that is the prerequisite. Every writer, rather male or female, or a man or a woman, has to have a freedom of expression. Unless you have that freedom, you cannot be creative, you cannot be spontaneous. She has to break the orthodox or traditional belief. In England, the woman is idealized as the angel in the house, but actually she is a slave and a labor. That is the Victorian age. We are talking about England during that, where she is expected to behave in a certain manner. But Virginia says that if I want to flourish as a writer, novelist, I have to break the orthodox or traditional beliefs and come out and make my own space. Now, Woolf has to come out and destroy the angel in the house as a novelist if she wants to express freely her views on her feelings, relations, sex, etc. There are many obstacles she has to face in the profession of writing. She has to fight falsehood and overcome prejudices. Most men object such freedom given to women. So she has a very great task to perform if she strongly decides that she wants to become a writer. So the first requirement is she has to kill the angel, but that is not the end. Then she has to make herself very strong enough to express her own views on feelings, relations, sex, being very neutral, being very composite, and being very womanly and not as manly. So she has to dissect, or rather detach, or rather an impersonal way of writing where she has to write as a woman. Again, that's not the end. She has to fight other falsehood, other prejudices. And here comes that example where the girl is no more willing to write because she is feared that what men will talk about. So these are the prejudices, these are the not coming to the expected fixed sort of a standards, and because of that woman has to face negative remarks or comments, and that fear hinders many women writers. That is what Virginia says is the reason that there are very few women opt for literature. And the last point is that most men object such freedom given to women. And if a woman fights all these obstacles and takes freedom, that is, decides to be a woman writer, men are not easily agreeable on this, and they say that this is not the right kind of freedom that a woman has to be given. And here are some very simple one-liners and short questions which are in a way the most important part of the exercise, because at the end of the exercise, if you happen to answer them, it means that you have understood each and every point that was discussed. I'll quickly go on with the questions. The first is, in what kind of state does Virginia Woolf wish to be ever in? Now that is very important, which she discussed in the second point of her talk. As I said, the lesson is divided in 7 points, and in the second point she says that she wants to be very active. And here she has given certain examples where she talks about other women who are very docile, who are very inactive, and still they pull the legs of those who are working or who are into active sort of a work. That is what she says. Virginia Woolf wishes to be ever in free state of mind, doing things actively, and she wants to continue with that kind of work. Second question, did Virginia Woolf take writing out of economic necessity? Very clearly no, because she came from a well-to-do family. She had a wonderful background in terms of academics. Her father was he was a professor, and the financial condition of her family was well. So she had no economic necessity compelling her to come into creative writing. And the third question is, has Virginia Woolf succeeded in finding out what a woman is? To some extent, yes, but not to the fullest. That is what she herself confessed. Yes, to some extent, Virginia Woolf has succeeded in finding out what a woman is. To some extent is what she has overcome. But there are certain attained questions or unattained replies, that, and the reason for that, she has even questioned the audience at the end of her conclusion. That is when she was concluding her talk, they try to answer these questions because she herself thinks that there are still certain questions unanswered. And that brings us to the last section of the presentation, and few more questions in a short form. That is, as I said, to what extent she has succeeded, she being a very renowned novelist, in her case puts it very clear that she has succeeded as a novelist. but there are certain many questions which are missing here, which I thought I would put that regarding the empty space and having a room for one's own. And that brings us to the conclusion of this session. There are many other exercises to be done on your part, especially the vocabulary and the grammar exercise even, and at the same time the comprehension exercise, which are very important if you want to have a glimpse of the whole talk in just 10 questions given to you in the form of true or false. And if you make them, then that gives you a composite understanding of to what extent you have understood this session. And that brings us to the end of today's session. And thank you very much for being a part of this interactive session. Thank you.
Sandhan. All Gujarat Integrated Classroom.
સેટેલાઇટના માધ્યમથી જોડતી કડી એટલે સંધાન.